Welcome. Suzie Bichovsky is a public school educator, yoga teacher, founder of Coachucation, a burnout prevention strategist, and the host of the Keep Your Candle Lit podcast. When she isn't doing those things, she can be found with her nose in a book, petting her cats, or hanging out in nature. In addition to coaching and yoga, Suzie has provided professional development support for educators in the public school and university settings. She is an educator with over 20 years of experience, and she's a good friend of mine. As the author of Because You Matter, Suzie hopes that readers of all ages will connect with the message of the book as well as be inspired to spend time in nature. Suzie has recorded this session for us as she's working at her teaching job at the moment. As a result, there will be no Q&A for her session. Please do take a moment and check out her virtual booth in the virtual AirMeet exhibition space. Okay, here's Suzie.
Welcome to your next concentric session. Our topic will be burnout prevention. Keep your candle lit. In this talk, we'll address what burnout is, how to possibly address it, as well as talk about why it's important with regards to the customer experience. And as I say that to you, my bottom line concern about the customer experience is you. How are you? Right now, right here, in this moment, what are 3 words that describe how you are? I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling relieved. And I'm feeling excited. It's not necessary to explain when you're thinking, like, what are those 3 words and why are you feeling them? You certainly can. But for me, the frustration is, it is so hot where I am and the air conditioner is not working and I am sweating. And if you can't hear it, I have my feet on ice packs in an attempt to stay cool. And this heat has just totally messed with my own sense of rhythm. And as I'm sitting here trying to record this conversation for you, all I can think about is how much I'd rather be with you live and how much I'd rather be in like a bucket of ice right now. So that's my frustration. I am relieved because I've been looking forward to preparing for this time with you, and I'm relieved that it's finally happening, and I'm excited. Anytime that I have the opportunity to talk about burnout prevention in any way, shape, or form with the mindset that it will be of service to at least one person listening in, I get jazzed. Because if one person shifts as a result of this conversation, you will also impact the people that are in your world. So let's go back to the topic, burnout. What is it? Here's the bottom line. If you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling like you're under a time pressure cooker that you can't get out of, if you are feeling that you are in conflict, whether this, by the way, is happening in the workspace or the home environment or some other sphere, that may be burnout. Doesn't have to be burnout. It can be very situational. But if it's deeper, it could be depression. So that's one of the things that I want to discuss with you first, what burnout is not. Burnout is not depression, but burnout could be a gateway toward depression. So it's super important that folks don't self-diagnose themselves as burnout and miss the fact that they might be depressed. I want you to promise yourself that if you suspect that you're burnout, but you're not quite sure if it's depression, you will talk to someone who is medically qualified to answer that question for you. The thing that people who definitely are burnout have in common, these are folks who find themselves in helping professions. So just think for a moment. What's a helping profession that you're familiar with? And how are you involved in a helping profession? This also applies to people who find themselves in a caregiving position. Are you in a caregiving position for family, friends? So all of this can contribute towards burnout. That was a term that was coined in the 70s. And quite frankly, it's something that many folks have gleaned onto because it's become a buzzword. I've been exposed to burnout prior to 2014, but it was 2014 that I completed my own coach training with Leadership That Works. But as an outcome of my training with them and my own personal experiences and professional experiences with burnout and witnessing it happening to folks in all sorts of arenas, my question was, what can I do to support that process? So I became, in addition to my other jobs, a burnout prevention strategist who worked with folks that were interested in prevention and recovery. But that word recovery, I learned, would lead people to me that were in depression, that may not have known that they were in depression. So very often when I would work with folks, the conversation was, I'm more than happy to work with you in the area of burnout prevention, but if this is hinting toward depression, you need to also work with another medical professional. You might be looking at me and saying, well, who is this person talking to us with burnout prevention? What kind of customer work does she do? I'm a public school educator with over 20 years of experience, not only in the classroom, but working with colleagues in the area of professional development and also working for a university offering professional development too. My customers were and are colleagues, administrators, if you think about it, right? Even though they're my supervisor and I'm their employee in some way, I am producing for them. In addition to my students, their families, the community. When I'm functioning as a yoga teacher, it is my yogis that are my client. And then I also have the studios to think of when I'm working for someone instead of myself. When I'm hosting my podcast, Keep Your Candle Lit, I think of my listeners as my consumers / customers, right? While my podcast may be free and of service, there are people who are still taking it in. So what am I doing to support their experience? Of course, as a coach, strategist with my own clients, obviously they're my clients, but they are customers, they're paying for a service. So what's the experience that I'm providing to them? What are they gaining? What are they not getting? And then finally, I'm currently right now, as we're recording this, wrapping up a 6-month program to become a professional officiant, to do things like vow renewals and weddings and baby namings and end-of-life ceremonies. And as I name all of that to you, aren't there customers involved in that experience as well? So how does burnout prevention, again, align with the customer experience? Well, people who are experiencing burnout, a root cause is very often they're not taking care of their own needs. They're not taking care of their own needs. So if you're not taking care of your own need, or I'm not taking care of my own need, how can we show up and offer a customer experience that is worthy and deserving? Or how can we show up and be in a space of compassion and empathy and realize that if a customer is having a negative interaction with a product or a service, that it isn't personal with the person who gets to hear that feedback. Likewise, if you're in a space where maybe you're not taking care of your needs and you're not as aligned mentally, physically, spiritually, soulfully, whatever those words mean to you, if you're not as aligned and you're dealing with a consumer who's having a very negative interaction with you, are you responding in kind? Do you lose your composure? Or do you sit and you recognize this person is experiencing something? It's not technically about me. How can I take it, reframe it, and support them? As a side note, if there are folks who are listening here who are bosses and managers, I invite you to think about how your interactions with your employees or your colleagues are in service of them, or quite frankly, in harm of them. How are you contributing towards your employees' well-being, which in turn ripples out to the customer satisfaction that they provide? So I very simply invite you to think about that. When we continue to talk about burnout and depression, again, inviting you to dig in deeper with mental wellness professionals, something I want to point out to you is this idea of exhaustion. If someone is feeling chronically exhausted and drained and energy depleted, and their body's in pain that's different, or if someone is feeling like they're alienated, maybe they're first becoming a little more cynical, then a little more negative, and then they're distanced or numbing themselves out when they're in their work environment. And again, maybe it's not work, maybe it's home. All the spheres interact with one another. Or maybe someone's productivity is decreasing. It's taking them longer to do the tasks, and it's not because of something that a system has done to them, right? All of this can be burnout to the extreme, leading into depression. However, depression is really coupled also with low self-esteem, a sense of hopelessness, or even suicidal thought. So I think that's super important for folks to grasp and understand, that if you're in an educational world and you're familiar with Venn diagrams where we compare and contrast, where we have two circles that they interact, right? One circle can be labeled burnout, the other could be labeled depression. and there's a whole bunch of stuff in the middle that overlaps. So I invite you here in this moment just to take a breath. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And as you breathe in, fill up your belly. Release it and let it go. And just think for a moment. What's your own personal baseline with burnout? A 0 is, nope, no burnout, I'm perfect, I'm amazing, yay. 10 is, been there, done there, lived there, can't get out of it. Where are you? And I invite you to do the work. I invite you to think about the why. What within that is in your control? What within that is being influenced by another person or by a system? And is there anything that can shift? You know, I bring that up to you because, again, if there are managers, bosses, etc. listening in, instead of relying on a survey that you give to your folks for like, hey, how are you feeling about your job satisfaction? Maybe it's a casual conversation. Maybe it's, we appreciate you, we value you. Like, what could we do to further support you? What supports do you need to be even more productive, if that's your buzzword, satisfied or happy? But you as the provider, you as the person who's in the workforce, have you ever had the opportunity to have a conversation with one of your supervisors about your own ideal working environment? I did accidentally with one of my supervisors. We were having a random casual conversation, and in it we were talking about ideal something, and it just came out of my mouth where I said, you know, for me, an ideal working environment is one where I am blah, 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 and blah. And I named those 4 things. And my supervisor said to me, like, isn't that the ideal? That's amazing. And I thought to myself, all 4 of those things are things that I have direct control over. All of those things I have direct control over. But I did say, you know, the one thing that is not in my control is the way someone interacts with me. So if someone is not pleased with my job performance, with the results that they're getting out of me, with an interaction that they've had with me, the manner in which they have that conversation with me or give me feedback, is it meant to be helpful? Is it gruff? Is it abrupt? Is it demoralizing? Is it insulting? Do you work for someone who's a narcissist? Are you just waiting your time for them to go? You know, there are all these articles of late about the biggest form of self-care is quitting your job. Must be nice for the folks who can afford to do that. Not many of us can. So if you're in a situation where like you're waiting someone out, is the waiting out causing you harm? The reason I bring this up is there was a social media post and people were talking about like teachers and things like that, and the term burnout came out. And someone wrote this comment and it's stuck with me. It is stuck with me. So I wrote it down to share with you. It's not burnout. It's exploitation. It's not burnout. It's exploitation. And if as you're listening to this, you've been nodding along and you're starting to feel like maybe there's some burnout, are you being exploited? And if you are, do you have any recourse? Is there anything that you can do about it? You know, I did catch myself, doesn't matter when, but I did catch myself being exploited. And I recognized how that was impacting me and how it was impacting my time and my energy and my other relationships. And when I caught that I was being exploited, I shamed myself for first not recognizing it, that I shamed the person who is causing it. And then I thought about how is it affecting my customers, the folks that I serve in my world. And then I thought, what can I do about it? And is it worth it talking to the individual, you know, who was in charge of that at that moment? Was it a worthy conversation? And I did have one. It was a very uncomfortable conversation, but what was the other outcome going to be? My mental and physical wellness? I had to choose. I either could have continued on the path that I was on, I could have had an uncomfortable conversation, or some mysterious third door. And I'm not a person who likes the mysterious third door. So I just invite you to reflect here in this moment. What is within your circle of control? Is there an individual or a system that is directly impacting your own wellness, your own needs, and your ability to serve your clients, your customers? Can a conversation be had? And if so, who does a conversation get to be with? Be mindful. As I get trapped in my necklace. Be mindful of getting trapped into a conversation with someone who appears to be well-meaning, but maybe it's more like venting and gossiping, and all it will do is create more of a dramatic result for you. You know who those folks are. Those are the folks who seem to be in the know about everything that's going on, and they have delight in having that knowledge. And you just need to remember that if you're confiding in them, think about what they've done with the knowledge that they've already accrued. Hard conversations are hard to have. But going back to your personal arena, if any relationship that you have can be destroyed by having a hard conversation, then how secure, comfortable, safe was that relationship to begin with? Why are we so concerned about burnout? Well, if burnout is a potential gateway to depression, why would we not want to step in before it even exists? I very much think of burnout as a candle. That's how the whole keep your candle lit got started for me with my podcast and with the talk for this, right? So I was thinking about the idea of a candle. We've heard that expression, burning the wick at both ends, right? Why do we get proud of that? Why are we so proud of being so busy and so task oriented? I fall into that trap all the time, right? I get like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Look at my chart of all the things I'm doing. Like, no one's giving me a gold star or sticker for getting those things done anymore. So what does that say about me? I know what it says. I've done the work. I know I'm a people pleaser, and I know where the root cause of that is. So I have to look out for it, right? I have to look out for it, because if I don't take care of it, my candle's going to burn at both ends, and then it's all going to burn out, and then I'm going to need it to be reignited, and I might not have the energy to do that. So then I'm going to rely on other folks to do it for me, and then those folks are going to be drained, or they might not have a light to share. Like, I almost dripped all the wax. Wouldn't it be great if they did have the light to share, where, you know, they could take their candle, their flame, tip it towards mine, ignite it, and if theirs ever goes out, I can do the same. Like, it's reciprocal. We both keep the room lit. But when I think about keeping your candle lit, I really think about three things. I think about purpose, passion, and vision. Like, purpose is the why behind you doing all the things. And that purpose could be as simple as a simple mindset of I am, and whatever your word is. For me, it's I'm a helper. There are a lot of other I ams I use, but for me, it's I am a helper. And when I'm thinking about, is this a yes or is this a no? Well, is it in a position of helping? And is it going to cause me or someone else harm if I say yes? So for me, my purpose is to help folks so they can help others. My purpose is to help folks so they can be healthier, so they're healthier for folks around them. When I think about passion, passion is like what keeps you motivated. Like, why do you do what you do? So I'm motivated in part because when I was young, I needed someone like me, and I didn't have that. So now that I'm older, I try to show up for other folks the way I wish someone would have shown up for me. You know, I wrote this book because you matter. And I wrote it because I, in a nutshell, didn't think that I did. So when I entered the workforce, I worked my face off for every single employer I had, from the time I was babysitting, doing, putting shoes on children, working in a clothing store, camp counselor, teacher, all the things. Like, I worked my face off and then some to prove that I did. To prove that I did. To not only earn that paycheck, but also get that external validation of, yep, you matter. So there's a line in here where after we go through the book and it connects your connection to nature to mattering, it says and invites the reader to pause, breathe, notice, allow. Think about those 4 words. Pause, power of the pause. Breathe, notice, and allow. So that allow piece is allowing what you notice to sink in, right? So maybe something that you notice when you're breathing and doing a deep connection with yourself is something happening in your body, your mind, your energy, your breath, something along those lines. Think about how many folks will not allow themselves to take the time to do that. Or they will not allow themselves to feel what they need to feel. They need to maybe numb it out a little bit. They need to ignore it. It's too painful. So I invite you to think a little bit about this idea of you matter, the people around you matter, your customers matter. You matter when you're at work. You matter when you're at home. You matter when you're dealing with customers. You matter when you're dealing with your family. And you matter when you are on your own. Think about that. Along with the passion, purpose is vision. Like, what's your vision? What's your vision for how you want to be? What's your vision for how you want to live? What's your vision for how you want to serve? Because if you can understand what is your purpose, what is your passion, and what is your vision, and align those in your world, you're unstoppable. So let's dig into some potential strategies. There are a ton of strategies. You can Google them, but these are the ones that I use in all the spheres of my world. So these are the ones that I share with folks. I have a concept called 3-2-1. 3 words, 2 minutes, 1 person. So earlier at the beginning of this talk, I said to you, like, what are 3 words that describe how you are in this moment? This is a technique you can use anytime. You can do it when you put your hands on the steering wheel. You can do it when you put your hands on a doorknob. You can do it when you're feeling stressed and you take a pause. I tell students they can do it when they brush their teeth, right? What are 3 words that describe how you are? As an outcome of understanding those words, take 2 minutes. In those 2 minutes, what can you do? Can you take silence? Work on breathing, move your body, look out a window or go out into nature? Like, literally for 2 minutes, what can you do? And then 1 is 1 person. Who's 1 person that you can reach out to with a text? Just send them a message. Do you have to dish everything to them? Just give them like a little update or send them an emoji that reflects how you are. Throughout the pandemic, I've had a pandemic pal and we've text messaged each other every single day. I think we missed 1. And sometimes the text message is random stuff, and sometimes it's just like a word or 2 that describe how we are, or this happened and I did this. Super, super light, no responsibility of the other person, but it's like that accountability piece. So who's the person that you can talk to, that you can connect with, so you don't feel alone in your situation, but isn't a venter? Something else that you can do is think about values decision-making. Values-driven decision-making. If you go to my website, suziebichovsky.com or coacheducation.com, it'll redirect you. If you go to the About section and you click on For Your Consideration, there is a values inventory. And when you look at that values inventory, you literally just check off the things that you're interested in. Like, you're like, yeah, these really resonate and these really connect with me. I have an episode of my podcast about that too, to take you like through the work a little deeper. But the whole purpose of that is, if you can get like, say, your top 7 values and you know what they are in your core, then when you have to make decisions, you can think, how does this decision serve each value? Which value is not being taken care of right now? And that would be a need, right? So values decision making can support burnout from the perspective of you are making a knowing choice, and you can explain yourself and you can get rid of the what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. Make time for the things that you're passionate about. When you make space in your brain, on your calendar, when you make space for the things that you know are going to light you up, you might sometimes feel overwhelmed and feel like, oh, I can't do this because I need. Stick with the things that light you up. It's when you cut out your passion and you cut out your purpose that everything else just starts to feel, and it's the thing that can get you out. Exercise, but really. So I am the kind of person that I start to exercise and I hurt myself and then I stop. And I start to exercise and then I stop. And like, I love yoga. I was new to yoga, found it, ended up becoming a teacher, really enjoy it. But I'm not into the acrobatic yoga. Like, I'm into like the let's chill yoga. So even for me, I need to find ways to like move my body, to exercise, to like walk it out. So walking is really truly the best thing for me. Don't track how often I do it, because I don't. But I do have to, like, to be fully transparent with you, let you know that exercise and moving your body is really one great way to support burnout prevention. Find support. Whether it's a podcast that you listen to, that person that we spoke about before, having your like partner that you reach out to, whether it's working with a wellness professional, Find support for that which you need that will support you. If you're feeling difficulty in the area of finances, then meet with a financial planner. A lot of folks that are professionals, a lot of folks have pro bono or reduced rate spots. So don't let the thought of, I want help in this area, but I can't because I can't afford it, stop you. There are a lot of resources. Hugs, when we're allowed, hugs, that connection, that heart-to-heart lineup, and a good solid 10-second hug releases chemicals that just support you, just like chocolate does. Look that up and study that. Aromatherapy, believe it or not, the power of a good positive smell, whether it is the perfume or cologne of someone from your past who is important to you, whether it's an essential oil that you diffuse or wear, whether it's a candle that gives off a scent that's meaningful to you, whether it's flowers or fruit, whatever it is, being connected with a scent. So if you can bring that into the space that you're in some way, shape, or form, or you can experience it when you get into your car, or you can experience it if like on your wrists when you get onto a bus, something along those lines that can support you with activating a memory that's associated favorably with that scent. Our diets, what we eat absolutely impacts how we feel and how we are. Straight up, I am a junk food junkie. And when I say that, like sweets are my jam, baked goods, and I actually don't even like them, but I do. But I don't, but I do. But when I find myself craving them, it's when I'm the most stressed out. And I do this thing, maybe you do it too. I'm overproductive, underproductive, overproductive, underproductive. I overexercise, underexercise, overexercise, underexercise, eat super well, eat like garbage. I'm not telling you how to eat. I'm not telling you what to eat. All I'm saying is be aware of what you eat. Whether you keep a food log or you use like like one of the free apps that are available where you do like a calorie tracker, simply having an awareness of what you're consuming and then being able to go back and think about how it made you feel can be very, very powerful. So I'm not suggesting that we think about diet from the perspective of our physical appearance, our aesthetic. I'm thinking about it from the perspective of how does what we take in impact our mindset, and are we even aware of what we are consuming? Breathing. You breathe all the time, but very focused breathing. In through the nose, expanding the belly. Exhaling, releasing, and letting it go. Breathing in for 4, out for 6. Or box breathing. Breathing in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, and repeat. Just the focused attention on breathing can be transformative when it comes to burnout, especially when you're feeling like it coming on, right? So when we talked earlier about 3, 2, 1, when you feel something brewing, take the pause, take the breath, figure out your 3 words, 2 minutes for what you need, and then 1 person to follow up with. It'll make a difference. And truthfully, if you don't have a person that you can follow up with, have a journal or a notes app on your phone and just keep track. Be your own person. I am going to recommend something to you from the yoga world. It's called Yoga Nidra, Nidra. If you're familiar with that, awesome. If you're not, 1 hour of Yoga Nidra is equivalent to, I believe it's like 4 hours of regular sleep, depending upon how you do it. You don't have to have any yoga experience to do it. You find a position, preferably laying down or seated, and you hold it for Yoga Nidra. And it's not necessarily meditation, but it can be a gateway for meditation. It's something that I enjoy teaching. It's one of my most favorite things to teach. And when I'm stressed and I remember to use that resource and go to YouTube and find a Yoga Nidra that I like, it does wonders. I do want to warn you of something when it comes to burnout prevention, and just take this to heart. Your feelings are your feelings. They're important. They matter. Your feelings are not wrong. So if you are angry, sad, scared, nothing's wrong with that. Feelings are not positive or negative. It's what we do as a result of those feelings that can be labeled as positive or negative. Please just be aware of the fact that spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity can actually cause burnout to deepen and to transition into depression. So if you ever find yourself in a position of listening to someone's feelings, please be in that position of recognizing that acknowledging someone's feelings can actually be a lifesaver for some folks. So I hope that the conversation that I just had with you with burnout prevention not only helps you to be a little more informed with it and gives you a couple ideas of what you can do, but truly supports you in validating that you do need to take care of yourself so you can show up favorably for all of the customers in your life, the customers in your workforce, the customers at home. And if you are a boss or a manager, please take care of your own needs so you can support your employees with taking care of theirs. I'm Susie. You can find me on social media with Coach Education on Instagram, Facebook, all the places. Until next time, keep your candle lit and let your light shine. Bye.